Welcome to the Think Yourself Healthy podcast, where we challenge you to think differently about your approach to health and wellness. My name is Heather Duranja, and I'm excited to be here with you to take you on the journey from surviving to thriving.
Hey, everybody. On today's show of Think Yourself Healthy podcast, I have a special guest. His name is John Kim, also known as the Angry Therapist. He is a published author, a licensed therapist who pioneered the online life coaching movement 8 years ago after going through a divorce. He started a blog called The Angry Therapist and quickly built a devoted following of fans who loved the frank and authentic insights that he freely shared on social media. He pulled the curtain back and showed himself by practicing transparency and showing his story, something therapists are taught not to do. Kim became known as an unconventional therapist who worked outside the box by seeing clients at coffee shops, on hikes, and in gyms. He quickly built a coaching team of his own and launched a sister company called JRNI, creating a new way to help people. He is now changing the way we change by sending daily text and running virtual live wellness classes in the TAT Lab. Pretty awesome. I'm so excited to chat with you today, John. I appreciate you taking the time to spend with myself and the listeners. So not only do you have all of that going on, but you also have a new project in the works that just launched this week, and it's a new dating app.
Yeah, thank you for having me, by the way.
Oh,
I
it's my
really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
My
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah, it's a new dating app, but it's also a new kind of dating app. And it's not, we're just a little garage band, it's not like this big corporation that's producing something. But it came from actually me helping mostly women in the last decade, women in their like late 20s and on, mostly frustrated with swipe culture, dick pics, filtered photos, catfishing, all the stuff that comes with the toxic dating landscape these days. And I thought, man, and I just had a daughter, so I thought, what can I do to contribute, to do something? So I have a book coming out called Single on Purpose, and I thought, more than a book, what about an app? And then let's try to change it by having it video only, where you have to show yourself, and let's see if we can get real people being real.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I myself have been single for the last decade. I got divorced in 2010. So I know personally the struggles of being a single female. Also, not just being a single female, but being an entrepreneur and, owning my own business, having very limited time to go out and put myself out there to meet people.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been a challenge. And so when I found out about this app, I was super excited and wanted to pick your brain to kind of talk about, what the potential, what the vision is that you see for this app and how it's going to change dating culture, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah. I mean, how it's going to change dating culture, that's a very, intimidating, a powerful statement. I mean, that would be amazing.
Wait a minute. Coming from the Angry Therapist, intimidated?
Yeah. Well, thank you for checking my mindset. You're right. How is this going to change the dating landscape? I think we've become baseball cards. Mm-hmm. I think that swiping and filters have turned us has kind of dehumanized us, right? So, I mean, anyone can shoot a beautiful photo, right? Depending on the angle and then you can present yourself in a way that's not true. And so then you just have a lot of people putting up posters and baseball cards, and that's not what real love is. And then when they meet, they're usually disappointed. There's some kind of lopsided, dynamic happening, and then hurt feelings, and then feeling discouraged. And then this is where it gets dangerous. Then you internalize, right? Then you feel like, oh, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not pretty enough or tall enough or whatever enough. Mm-hmm. And then so it just adds to our insecurity,
Absolutely.
And when you scale this, and now you have millions of people going through this, I don't know how dating can be fun.
Right.
So my whole thing is like, let's shatter our veneer. Let's try to pull from our authentic self. Let's show up on video, because on video you can't really hide, you know.
Right.
It's like, this is who I am. Here's my personality. Here's my energy. These are, this is the proportions of my eyes and my face. And I think that's kind of especially today with technology, you could do it where it's more of an accurate version. There's no false advertising.
Right. No, and I love that. I think that that's such a great concept to work into this whole environment of dating, especially the online dating. It was funny because maybe about 3-4 weeks ago, I had gotten to a point where I was like, I think with, being locked indoors for the last 6 months, it's like, how the hell am I going to go out and meet people? Like, where do I even begin at this point? And so I downloaded Bumble. And so there I am, ashamed of myself for downloading the app again. And I hop on there and swiping. And I'm like, oh gosh, what am I doing? This is just not what I want. How am I going to find that authentic person? These are just posters of what they want us to believe they are. And I had flew home. I grew up in the Midwest. And so I had flown home. And the next morning I woke up and I had all of these messages in like my Instagram box and in my Facebook messages asking if I was home. And I was like, oh shit, how do people know I'm home? Because I didn't tell anyone. It was going to be a quick in and out. I didn't want people knowing. And then I realized, my app, Bumble. People took screenshots of my Bumble profile and then sent it to me saying, hey, we found out you're home because it's, you're showing up in our search due to location.
Oh, wow.
I immediately deleted it. And so after that, I was talking to one of my daughters, and I was like, I'm just at a loss. I am more of a conscious individual who's really into doing the healing work and trying to embrace vulnerability. And I'm looking for real men who are equally into the same kind of things.
Yeah.
And I just don't know where to go. And then I was scrolling, and I think it was one of your posts popped up, and it was like, let's twirl. And I'm like, what is this? And so it immediately caught my attention. And then the more I read into it, I was like, this is what I've been dreaming of. So
wait a minute. So am I here because of Twirl? Is that how you found me, not the Angry Therapist?
No. So I've been following you from the Angry Therapist for a really long time.
Okay.
But I love this concept that you're taking the therapy and you're trying to incorporate it into the dating world so that we can take away this toxicity that we have been consumed with. I think that a lot of us go into the dating with kind of this really sour taste in our mouth, and we have these predetermined expectations based on past experiences. There's been many times I've met someone through, Bumble or Tinder or whatever, met up with them, had a great time, and then they ghost me.
Yeah.
Or they ghost you in the inbox. And
and
then I've sat there and I'm like, wait a minute, this dude was like so into it and the chemistry was great. And I don't even understand what's happening here.
There's a lot of people hiding. There's a lot of people not being honest. And also I think because of things like swipe culture, Bump, all the apps, while you're on a date and you're dated in the restroom, if you're not feeling it, you could literally go and swipe and find someone else. And it gives us the illusion that that people are like condiments. They're just, the grass is greener. And then, I wonder what else is out there. It prevents us from choosing to love someone and then swimming past the breakers with them, rolling up our sleeves and building something. Susan Piver says that there's a difference between falling in love and having a relationship. And falling in love is easy. I could fall in love with someone every day, but that's very different than building a relationship. So with Twirl, I want to have conversations about building a relationship. I want to have conversations about what you're afraid of and attachment styles and all the stuff that we don't usually talk about on a dating app.
Right.
Because I think if we front load that, then we can be honest, we can start there. And also it's not about finding someone. It's more about connecting to yourself. And by doing so, if you happen to meet someone, great.
Mm-hmm.
And so with Twirl, as you can see, when you enter questions, they're both genders,
Mm-hmm.
you could be a heterosexual male, but also commenting to another man just because the question's interesting without any kind of intention or attraction. That's okay too. So,
Right. I
yeah.
like that idea. I think that that's really powerful for that kind of concept. I know for myself, I tend to be more attracted to personality than
Mhm.
aesthetics.
Mm,
And so when you're, going through swiping, you're seeing
right. You're only seeing
pictures and they
aesthetic.
may not be the most
Yeah.
attractive guy. And so
Yeah.
you're like right there in that moment having to make a decision. I'm always generous. I'm always like, all
Yeah.
right, I'll just swipe everyone and then give everyone a fair chance. But
Right.
I think that there's a lot of people out there who maybe wouldn't take that approach and really miss out on an opportunity meeting someone that they could potentially have a connection with, but isn't as aesthetically pleasing, you know.
Yeah.
So
That's a
I
really good point you just mentioned that in a photo
Mhm.
or like a 30-second clip or whatever, you don't get a sense of their personality, their energy. You get a sense of the color of their eyes
Right.
and body shape, etc. And that's so two-dimensional. That's the cardboard cutout instead of because what you need to build anything or for it to move further is, of course, personality, humor, how they carry themselves, like all of that.
Mhm. Right. So I want to take it back a little bit and I want to go back to the birthing of the angry therapist.
Hmm.
I have an immense amount of respect for you for being
Mm.
able to step out of the box and recognize that our current therapy culture was not working and that we needed to take a different approach, being able to reach people where they're at and being able to support them on the level that they truly need the support.
Yeah.
So, how difficult was it for you to step out of that? Out of the circle of therapists and create a new avenue that I'm sure many peers probably criticized and judged initially when you decided to take this leap of faith. So talk
Yeah.
to us a little bit about this.
It wasn't something that I planned. It was a promise I made to myself that I couldn't break. So part of it was, I think if I wasn't going through a divorce and rebuilding myself, I don't think I would have had the courage to do anything different. I would have just became sheep and just went with the
Mm,
flow. Um, but because I was going through my own rebirth
mhm,
and I just got a divorce, had no friends, no money. I just had myself, and
mm,
I told myself because I'm starting over, I'm going to make this promise to myself. And that promise is I'm going to try to stand on my truth this time. I'm going to not exchange my truth for membership. I'm not going to seek approval validation. I'm just going to be me. Let's see what happens. I have nothing to lose anymore. I'm already at rock bottom, right? And I was 35 at the time. And as I started to work in the clinical world, I felt this isn't me.
mhm,
I can't wear the wrinkle-free pants and sit in an office and just do therapy, session after session. I said
mhm.
I wanted to play with my Legos. I
Yeah.
wanted to get on the internet. I wanted to live at the intersection of tech and wellness and work in unconventional ways. That was exciting. And
Mhm.
so I was like, all right, let's just do that. But it went against a lot of the clinical board stuff, right?
Right.
I don't know what the rules are now, but back then you couldn't do this kind of Zoom, Skyping, a no-no.
Right.
And I was like, why? It's such a huge, powerful tool to reach someone instantly around the world. So I called myself a coach.
Uh-huh.
Because when you're a coach, there's no board. And then I was like, okay, now let's play. And so I started doing internet sessions, online sessions, met people at the coffee shop. I went casual over clinical, just rode my Harley with my holes in my jeans and t-shirt. And I just was myself. I
Mhm.
took walks around this lake in Silver Lake. It was exactly 50-minute walk. And then I felt like I wasn't pushing a mail cart at the Daily Planet. I felt more like Superman. I felt like I
Mhm.
found my phone booth.
Right. I love it. And I can relate to your story. I went to school to be a registered dietitian nutritionist. And I'm,
Mhm.
you go through, you take your board, you become licensed, and then you are basically bound to ways that you have to practice.
Right, right.
And so I myself was working in the clinical world, and I felt like my soul was being robbed daily. And it wasn't something that was fulfilling my passion, which is the whole reason I got into this work. I wanted to really be able to help people. And I recognized I couldn't help them the way that I needed to, or the way that they needed me to support them based off of the clinical recommendations and typical practices. So I think it was 2015 myself, I stepped out and said, I'm going to do this whole internet, online coaching model and be able to really provide the support that individuals need to make the change.
Yeah.
And so
10 years ago when I was doing this, it was, life coaches weren't really a thing. I mean, unless you were Tony Robbins.
right.
And also, it wasn't, the technology wasn't quite there. Everyone was on dial-up still. We had the webcams that were outside the camera.
Oh yeah.
And, but now, now it's like, it's all headed that way. Now it's more than just a swell. I feel like there's a wave, and we now care about who you are more than the letters after your name. We want you to be transparent and vulnerable, and I think that that's what people want. So I don't know what's going to happen in the clinical world, if that's going to somehow change, the temperature of therapists. But I just went too far to go back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, I applaud your bravery and also giving permission to others to do it. I have a very close girlfriend who's been trying to take her boards for the last 5 years, hasn't been able to pass her test, and she's been having to work underneath someone else. Sure. Completely devastated. She's like, what am I going to do? I've spent 7 years doing education and then trying to practice, and I can't get licensed. What am I supposed to do? And I said, well, maybe this is, the time that you get to think this is redirection, not, rejection. And I feel that with the paradigm shift we're having right now as a society, we're going to need more people to step up and have the bravery to leave these disciplines that aren't necessarily providing the support and help individuals truly need at where we're at in this time.
Yes. If your fire in your belly, if your passion is honest and it's a bonfire, I say hop the fence. Do what you need to do to get out there instead of allowing certain confines to keep you and your potential down.
Right. So I have another question for you. As I shared earlier, I've been single for quite some time. I spent 17 years with my ex-husband, and I basically at 33 years old, when I got divorced, I had never dated. I came out into the market. Pardon me?
You got married young, I'm assuming?
I did, yeah. We got together when I was 17, had our first child by 19.
Oh, and wow. Okay. So
owned our first home at 20, started a business.
You went to the whole picket fence thing very quickly.
Yes, very much so.
Which is the dream for many people.
Right, it is. And that was I'm so grateful for that portion of my life, being able to stay home and nurture my children and all of those things. So grateful for it. But at 33, I was in the midst of going through a master's program, being single mom, having to work nights, bartending, and working a full-time clinical job. I was like, dating, right? How do I do it? So for me, I was only able to use apps to meet people.
Right.
And unfortunately, what I thought I was getting into ended up turning into something completely different down the road. But because I couldn't see individuals as frequently because I'm doing the every other weekend, I have free time. This drew out the process of me being able to really see who these individuals were, right?
Right.
And then it was devastation.
It's like long distance almost, meaning
exactly
pieces of them and also on their best behavior. You're not seeing the dirty socks on the floor, as I call it.
Right. And so I had really gotten attached to outcome potentials with relationships. I recently was doing a long distance relationship, and ultimately quarantine happened, borders get shut down, and it created a lot of stress for the relationship. And so we both recognized this wasn't working, But I was very devastated because I was so attached to the outcome potential of this relationship. And I know that there's a lot of women specifically and men who do suffer with this expectation kind of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but having these expectations and being attached to the outcomes. So what advice do you have for individuals like myself who are struggling with that in the dating world?
Yeah. So a lot of, again, especially women, 30-ish and more, older, they have this whole ticking clock thing, which is fair, right? Society, all of that. Um, I think one of and this is not easy to do. So I'm not saying that it's easy, because, we want to share our lives with someone.
Mm-hmm.
We want to put ourselves out there. We want to love again. We want to redefine what love looks like, give ourselves new experience. And especially someone like you who got married early. It's like, so what was stripped from you was your entire 20s. So,
right.
and I've only been in relationships too, and what was stripped from me was singlehood. So exploring everything from like sexuality, because in your 20s is when you experiment, right? So
right.
like
I didn't do any of that.
I didn't do any of that either. So like having a one night stand, like meeting someone at a bar, whatever, all the stuff that you learn through experience in your 20s, all that was taken from you. So and maybe the word is not taken from you, but you didn't get to experience that. So
right.
you just went from being a wife and mom to now trying to find a partner. And so that's hard. Like, where do you start? There's no runway. It's like, okay.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of people right now in your position. I think there's a lot of people who got married and had kids early, and they're glad they did that, because now they're young moms and they did all the raising. Now their kids are older, so they don't have to. Now they can go play, I guess.
Right. Mine are 24 and almost 20.
Yeah.
I've like got a whole life now to live.
Yeah. So that's like a gift. And so they're going through this kind of rebirth. They're going through, okay, now that I have raised my children and they're adults, now it's time to make it about me.
Right.
I am ready to love again or find someone new. And then it's like, okay, how do I do this? Well, there's a few apps where people are going to be false. And then you're going to get, dick pics in your email and, whatever, catfish and all the stuff. That's it. What else? What other choice? Especially with COVID, like what you're just like, oh, what else can I do? Right. So I think it's all about attracting instead of chasing, and so that's kind of the tone with Twirl as well. You're not shooting your arrow into someone's heart. Like your crossbow isn't cocked, and you're not desperately searching for someone because I think that's chasing. I think you're attracting, and the way that you attract is to build a better relationship with you, do all the things that you've always wanted to do that you couldn't because you were a mom or you were married or you were in something, whatever the reason, right?
Right.
And I think as you start to get, I'm not saying you don't have a life, but get a life, build your empire, do whatever you want to do, whatever lights you up, because now's the time, when you have single, you don't have any obligations to someone, then you become attractive. And I think then you're also going to attract like-minded people. So whatever you're interested in, whether it's wellness, yoga, meditation, CrossFit, I don't know, whatever, but using those communities and that lifestyle to draw in that kind of like-minded person, I think is powerful. And then I think then it's like, I feel like the universe filters people for you.
Yes.
So instead of like shotgun, it's more like sniper.
Right.
Like me connecting to myself. If I find someone who deserves me, then I will give my attention there. And if I don't, I'm going to keep connecting to me,
right.
'cause I'm always going to be with me. And then the other part of this is when you do find someone, you're bringing so much more to the table. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is, and this is why my new book's called Single on Purpose. It's not an anti-relationship book. It's a pro-relationship with self.
Oh, I like that.
When you are single, and this is probably also society, pressure, ticking clock, everything, you're like, okay, I need to find someone. And many people just jump into things very fast. They negotiate, they compromise. The only thing that changes is faces, but they haven't really changed. So all the patterns are still there. I think you have to stop that pattern And it might be dating someone that isn't your type. It might be, I'm a big fan of this idea of creating a new love experience.
I like that.
I have a brief interruption to bring today's special sponsored guest, our new partner, Waku. If you've ever tasted kombucha and found the taste to be a bit too, strong, but you love the idea of improving your gut health, then you will love Waku. They have come up with 6 refreshing tonics that not only are tasty, but also help support your gut health. Waku is a sort of herbal tea with similar health benefits of kombucha, but not as strong of a taste. It's a delicious choice to cool down in the summer, and here's the best part. Waku is offering a free trial for a 6-pack of tonics. That's right, you drink for free and only pay for shipping. Simply text the word DRINK, DRINK, to 474747 and get a link to get your free trial pack. So text the word DRINK to 474747 for your free trial pack.
Yeah. I'm really glad that you brought that up, because back to the expectation thing, when I got divorced, one of the things I said to myself was, well, I better do this now while I'm still young and still stand a chance, right? And so the expectation that I had was that I would very quickly find someone, end up getting remarried, we'd probably blend a family, and we'd live happily ever after. So when my 10-year divorce anniversary was coming up and I was doing some reflecting, and I'm going, wait a minute, I'm still single. It's been a decade. I never in a million years imagined that I would have spent an entire decade by myself. And so I was reflecting on this and thinking, why did I think that it was supposed to be this way, that I would get remarried? And I realized it was because in my environment, that's what I saw. I would see people get divorced, and then within a matter of 3 months, 6 months, sometimes 2 weeks, they would already have someone else. They'd be starting a whole nother family. And then all of the problems that existed in their initial marriage resurfaced and were still there. And so having that epiphany for me was a big deal, because it allowed me to release the shame and the almost like an embarrassment I felt, because people would be like, Heather, you're beautiful, you're so educated, you're down to earth, all of these great attributes and they were like, I don't understand why you're single. And I realized I'm single on purpose in many ways. And then I had a podcast that I released with Jake Woodard, where we were diving into some masculine and feminine stuff. And ultimately what we were able to discover during this podcast is that my core wound was shame. And I was carrying a lot of shame from early childhood that definitely revolved around sexuality and feeling comfortable in my sexuality. And then getting married so young, getting divorced, how it impacted my kids, how it impacted myself, families, the whole thing. So I feel really excited to be at this place where I've been doing the work, over the last 10 years. And now it's a matter of me just, finding the right environment to mingle in to meet my, my match.
Yeah, and I think the way that we do it, whether it's online or offline, is through community. So even like Twirl, everyone who is there, they're interested in bettering themselves, right? So that's environment. You may have a fitness community. You may have a meditation group. You may love to climb rocks, and you have that. So I think it's through communities, because then it's not about finding a person. It's about finding people who have the same values or the same passions, right? So you're already starting with some overlap, some common ground. And then if you have chemistry and you're attracted to the person, then you have something to build on.
Right. Another thing I got caught up on was that in order for me to be in a successful, healthy relationship, I have to have my shit together. I need to be healed. I got to be healed before I can start, doing the dating thing. So a couple years ago, I had ended a relationship and I was pretty heartbroken, devastated, once again, attached to the outcome of what it could have been. And so I decided to date myself for an entire year, not talk to anybody, not get in any kind of relationship, make it very intentional. I even took it a step further and took myself up to Northern California to Mount Shasta area and spent 16 weeks in isolation.
Wow. Holy shit. Like pulled the Stephen King.
Yeah. And I realized that it was the first time in my entire life that I had ever been by myself. I had 5 younger brothers. So I was always a mom, then having children young and, getting to this point. And it was so frightening. It was literally one of the most frightening experiences. Those first few days of truly just being by myself and not knowing who I was and what I liked and all of these things was so scary. But I allowed myself to be vulnerable and just feel it and experience it. And then I started experimenting out there and finding things and finding myself. And I fell so deeply in love with myself. It was such a very beautiful gift that I had given myself. So with all of this being said, I was chatting with a girlfriend the other day and I was asking, I said, when we break up, we tend to have some weight that we need to shed from the relationship. Do you think that this is an innate protection that's built into us so that when relationships do end, we want to work on ourselves, right? I got to lose the weight. I can't get back out there and take the pictures and put them on the app. I got to look good and feel good. So I'm wondering if that's the universe's way of trying to secure that time for us to focus on the healing and the rebirthing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I tell people, and this is through experience, not through textbooks, that the richest soil for growth is after an expired relationship, after a breakup, after a divorce, because that's when you actually are able to look back, examine the black box, take ownership. What happened? Why did it go down? You could actually look inward and kind of look at patterns and wiring and all of that. Even when you're talking about shame, the fact that you had that revelation is huge, because now you're exploring whether it's wounds or things that happened that were traumatizing or whatever. Because if you have the shame and you don't work on that, that's going to manifest in false beliefs, limited beliefs about yourself, and then that's going to manifest in behavior, which is maybe self-sabotaging.
I know nothing of self-sabotage. What are you talking about?
But following the thread down and realizing, it comes from there. Well, then now there's a chance of something different,
Right.
And so I think a lot of that stuff happens after a breakup or after an expired relationship, where we could look back and being like, okay, let's see what happened. Not blaming, but let's see what happened with me and why, and what do I need to change so I don't have that experience again.
So from a coaching perspective, would you encourage individuals who are just getting out of a relationship to create that space for themselves so that they can explore potentially some of those patterns?
The whole and I know it's cheesy, but the whole dating yourself, right?
Yeah.
This is the whole eat, pray, love. This is the whole, but it's also what happened to me. I after my divorce, the first thing I did was I wanted to either go somewhere, because I had never been anywhere. I grew up in LA, thought traveling was a waste of time, right?
Same.
I was just chasing after building things. And then I've always wanted a motorcycle, but I promised my wife at the time that I wouldn't get one. My parents, like all of that, because they're quote unquote dangerous. And so I was like, I should go somewhere. And my friends were like, yeah, go somewhere. So I went to Italy for the first time. That was magical, Florence. Wow. And then right when I got home, I bought a motorcycle, bought my first Ducati. And then I got my first tattoo, and then I discovered CrossFit. Like a lot of things for me that connected me to me, that I gave myself permission to do things I've always wanted to do that I didn't allow myself to do. And then that changed me. It shifted something inside me. And what it did was it made me trust myself. It made me build a better relationship with me. It made me have non-negotiables, right? And that process, that was everything. I think it repositions you. And then also when you're on that journey, and then I think you kind of work together with the universe, and suddenly you are meeting people that match your mindset or your values or your passions, you know?
Mm-hmm. So another story I've told myself throughout the last decade is around dating, that ultimately I can't be in a relationship or I'll lose myself. I'll stop doing all of the things that
Mhm.
I love, hence
Mhm.
the weight gain typically that happens, right?
Mm.
So why do we humans do this? Why do we fall into this pattern of prioritizing the relationship and potentially losing our own authenticity in that process?
Yeah, one of the misconceptions I think about love and relationships is that once you find your person, then you could stop working on yourself. All right, now you've made it to the island. Now I found, so now I can let myself go. I don't have to work out anymore. After whatever, and then you just get lost in that person. And of course, it feels amazing. It's like
Mm-hmm.
dopamine, right? It's like a giant love blanket. But now what you're doing is destroying the relationship because you came into it as a whole person with a
Mm-hmm.
life, and passion and non-negotiables and all that. And then now that you found love, all the work that you've done, you're kind of letting go. I think that when it comes to work, it's like pedaling a bike. If you stop doing it, you don't go anymore. You know, I think a lot of people get on their high horse about doing the work, but they
Mm-hmm.
did it over what, a summer, and they think they're now like enlightened. And it's like, no, you do it for the rest of your life, and you're still gonna snap back. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like addiction where it's always going to be right here. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so when people say I've done the work, I feel like, okay, that's great. That means you started, but there's no end to it. You continue to pedal the bike. You continue to do the work as you change and grow and evolve. So when you have two people doing that, then the relationship is not built on sand. There's foundation. There's people
Mm-hmm.
growing in their own containers, right? A lot of people find someone and then they're like, oh, found love. Perfect. Now I don't have to do any of this shit. And then they destroy their relationship.
Right. Yeah. What a great, such a great perspective. I know for myself, historically, I fell into the codependent,
Yeah.
narcissistic type of cycle.
Yeah.
And by the third narcissistic, codependent relationship, which was by far the worst, where I found myself in a position of not just physical, it was physical, mental, emotional, and sexual abuse. And here I am, like,
Mm.
thinking, gosh, how have I gotten to this place? So embarrassed and holding a lot of shame. But after
Yeah.
that, that's when I decided, okay, here's the thing, Heather. The guys have changed, but the circumstances have remained the same. They've just gotten worse. So
Mhm.
I had to take radical responsibility by looking within and starting to examine, what is my attachment style? What are my triggers? What are the patterns that I'm displaying in these relationships? What are my limiting beliefs that are allowing me to embrace self-sabotage in order to basically validate what I thought I expected by
Mhm.
not having it? And when I chose to go there, it was so frightening having to go there, but then it became such an empowering tool to recognize my responsibility throughout that process, and knowing that I have the power and the ability to change and break these beliefs and stories and patterns. And I know that it's going to be a work in progress. Like, I'm
Yeah.
44 years old now, and it took a long time to get me where I was and embrace the old default state. It's going to take continuous work every single day, showing up and asking those questions and trying to be more conscious of where I'm self-betraying or lying to myself or whatever the thing is. So for the individuals out there who have taken the week or the 3 months and they read the one book or the one course.
Walked on fire.
Yeah. So how do you encourage them to accept that the work is continuous? This isn't a once and done type thing.
I think life will let them know as they
Okay.
move forward. I encourage them just because it's the amount of people that I've seen and the amount of uh, people that have started self help or self betterment or on that path and they drop the ball. Um, I compare it to like fitness. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you could lose 100 pounds, which is amazing,
Mm-hmm.
but if you don't turn it into a lifestyle, it's going to come back.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
not all of it, but you have to go to the gym every day and work on your diet, and it's a way
Mm-hmm.
of life. And I think it's a very accurate metaphor for wellness too, and
Mm-hmm.
for self betterment. Um, it's a way of life. You choose to live this way, and you try to find a partner who also believes the same. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because if you're meeting someone at a point where they are very into like, oh, I'm changing self betterment, whatever, blah blah, because they're we all hit those kind of moments in our lives, but they're not turning it into a lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
then it's not going to be consistent. You're going to also be with someone who's also going to snap back,
Mm-hmm. So for the person who has read the book or did the course and they're still feeling, unsettled, they're not sure, they know
Mhm.
something needs to change. What advice do you have for them to just not give up and to keep moving forward?
Well, first of all, I think there's also this other piece, the other side of this, which is people putting a lot of pressure on themselves to,
Mm-hmm.
so they'll do all the courses, read all the books, everything, and they're expected to change overnight.
Mm-hmm.
I think evolution is a slow process,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I would say you're probably on the right path if you
Mm-hmm.
are seeking change and that's your intention, to not put pressure on yourself and stay there. Keep moving forward. Keep doing things that excite you and make you feel alive. Keep building a relationship with yourself. If
Mm-hmm.
you're doing it hoping like, okay, I did this and this and this, where's this? That's not the right way. I don't think it's effective. I think there's something false about that. So if you say to yourself, I've worked on myself for 2 years, where's my man? Or I've done this, where's my, um,
Right.
I don't think it works that way. I think when you forget that you're working on yourself because it's a lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
then stars line up. Then you have
Mm-hmm.
choices. Then you meet a lot of people. Then opportunities happen, all that, because you start living inside out instead of outside in.
Great advice. Absolutely beautiful advice. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard of the term conscious relationship.
Hmm.
There seems to be, I guess, a more of a trend, a movement. I'm not sure what we call it, but I'm hearing a lot more about conscious relationships. What does that mean?
I think everyone, I mean, I don't know what it means to other people, but for me, it means a relationship where you're looking inward. So instead of blaming, instead of, pointing fingers and maneuvering with an iron fist,
Mm-hmm.
or just a relationship where you're just chasing the highs,
Mm-hmm.
meaning putting a lot of weight on sex and chemistry and physical attraction, which are all important. I'm not saying those
Mm-hmm.
aren't important, but if that's where everything lives, well, building a relationship requires a lot more than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Building a relationship requires a lot more than orgasms. I mean, it requires communication, vulnerability, everything that's also difficult to do, like show yourself, self-expression, all of that,
Mm-hmm.
self-love, self-care. And so
Right.
I think the conscious relationship means to um, practice all of that,
Mm-hmm.
to break patterns. And I think everything starts with looking inward. And because when you have two people looking inward, that I think produces trust.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Do you feel that with this app, it kind of supports that
Oh yeah.
concept
Oh
of
yeah.
conscious dating?
Yeah, because the questions in the app, of course, there are fun questions like "What's your
Yeah.
favorite book?" and all that. But a lot of the questions are designed for you to look inward.
Mm-hmm.
Like attachment styles and love languages, and there's some really deep questions. There's some light questions, but it's all conversation that gets the pot stirring,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think that's the beginning. That's what being conscious. It's like making aware what you didn't know before, right?
Right.
Making the subconscious conscious,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when you have revelation. So when you have thousands of people doing that, um, how can we not go with that flow?
For me, it's super exciting. It gives me a lot of hope, especially having a 24 and almost 20-year-old daughters. I
Mm.
want, they're both focused on their own healing journey right now, which I think is absolutely beautiful.
Mhm.
That they have seen the work that I've been doing and they're like, oh, I think I want to try that.
Yeah.
And I see how they're interacting in their own friendships and relationships. And it's kind of like this paradigm shift with their behavior. It's exciting to me to think that we could potentially change this whole stigma we have around online dating. Very
Well,
exciting.
thank you for holding hands with me with this. Thank you for supporting this, because I don't just see it as a dating app. I see it as a movement.
It is.
An app is just one platform. A book is another platform. But it's something that I've been talking about for years. I will continue to talk about. The way that it ripples outward, I don't know. But yeah, thank you for all your support. And even this episode and this podcast, creating this dialogue, is the ripple of that movement.
Well, as I mentioned before, I am a huge fan of your work. I have an immense amount of respect for you. I love that you're a smart ass and you're sarcastic. You're very relatable. When I heard other professionals being true to themselves and honoring who their personality was and letting the fucks slip and the bitches and the shits, I was like, those are my people. I can still be a professional and still just be me and it be accepted. And so part of what you have done is give other professionals like myself permission to show up and truly be who they are. And I recognize I'm not for everyone, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not striving to be for everyone, but I know that there are many out there who connect with my style, my personality, my, potty mouth. But, anyway, so I'm very proud of the work you do, and I see how much it's changing individuals' lives. Reading your posts give me a lot of hope. Watching your stories, I laugh with you. Congratulations on the birth of your daughter. I think that's beautiful, and I'm excited to see where all of this goes for you. I think that really amazing things are headed your way in terms of the vision and the movement that you are creating.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That means a lot. When you're building things, you don't know how it's landing for people. You're just kind of a mad scientist, and I don't know. Well, you never know. It's the internet, so
yeah.
I don't know. But thank you. I appreciate that.
So real quick, I do have a couple of technical questions for you around the Let's Twirl app.
Yep.
I know right now you've got like somewhere around 23,000+ people who've already downloaded the app.
Yep.
So congratulations. That's like every individual's dream. You want at least, a group of people, not just one joining. So to have that many join in such a short time, I think should validate the need for this kind of tool in the dating culture. So that's got to feel really good. But as the app continues to, grow, will it filter for locations? Like as you're populating, it'll start filtering. Kind of talk to me about what the goals are with that.
Yeah, the dream is, and so right now it's still pretty blank because we don't know how people are going to use it. There's a gazillion features we're probably not even unaware of that are going to happen, but that's an obvious one. Yes, it's going to filter to the location.
Okay.
So you're not, investing in someone who lives in Australia if you want to find someone in Laguna, right? So that we're working on, and also further down the line, we want there to be machine learning. So the app starts to learn through your answers who you are and what kind of person you want, and it could recommend other people. So that's our ultimate vision.
Wow.
But the technology is there. So it's not in it right now because it's also very expensive.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, but we want to build that out. So when you have thousands of people, it starts getting through AI. It's going to start knowing who Heather is, what she wants, what she doesn't want. And so when it starts matching you, it's not going to be done through your aesthetics or just that you want someone who's 6'2" and drives Ferraris. But not that that's what you want, but through your answers.
I prefer a Harley.
Oh, Harley. Okay. But through your truth, it's going to tell you, hey, we have someone else based on your answers that we think might be good for you. And
wow, so, that's impressive. I can't wait to see how things grow and turn out.
It's in its infancy, so I also probably don't have answers. The whole thing, could be over next week. I don't know. Hopefully it keeps going.
It's not going to
I
be.
know there's a tipping point, but 2,500 right now, it is a lot of people, of course, if you put them in one room, but it's not a lot of people when you think about how many people are on these apps.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot of people for it to kind of get going and for people to kind of come out of the woodworks and start showing themselves and all that.
Absolutely. But I think it should be validation for you that within launching, you're able to already build that platform with a 2,500 user base in such a short time. I think that if I were to ask you, John, in the pit of your gut, what does your intuition truly say about the potential of this app? I think that I see the passion, I feel the passion. And when you feel that inside and be able to create what you have from that, people are going to be drawn to it because there is a need. You've identified a need and you're providing a solution that people can feel really, really good about.
I hope so.
My psychic abilities tell me that this is going to be a movement. Like the vision said, it's going to be something very successful and it's going to help a lot of individuals out there find potential, not just mates, but even friendships, lifelong friendships.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It shouldn't just be mates. It should be friends. Any kind of human collision that's meaningful is a success.
Right. I know what it was I was going to say. When I pulled up my phone to record that first video to launch, I literally have never had so much intimidation.
Yeah.
I pulled it up and I was like, wow, this is actually scary because we are so used to hiding behind the pictures and the things. Yes. I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. Yes.
And this is me. That's also going to be a huge barrier, but I think now's the time that people are going to push past that. 5 years ago, no one would do this.
Right. Well, and in that moment when I kept, putting the phone back down, pulling it out, putting it down, pulling it out, and I'm going, just freaking do it. Come on, what's the worst thing that can happen? You put yourself on an Instagram story every single day, but you're having resistance to ask a question and put yourself out there to a community that is probably going to be pretty inviting and welcoming. So just the, the little limiting belief in my own head around that part. But once I did it, it was easy.
A part of the community, and I hope, if you're not, I'm going to keep calling you out. I hope that you continue to engage in dialogue, ask and answer questions, and just
absolutely
be a part of this.
I would love that. Honestly, I would be so happy to support you guys in that. I truly believe in this effort. I love the Angry Therapist. So many people love you. Thank you for showing up and being you and just being raw and authentic and giving us hope and not being scared to show the ugly sides of, all of it. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And hope you have a great, Friday. Have a great weekend. Yep.
So where can the audience find you?
Just at the Angry Therapist, I guess.
Okay.
I'm pretty much, I'm the most active probably on Instagram, but.
Okay. And then as far as downloading the app, how can the audience get their hands on this app so they can start twirling and giving it a try?
Yeah, just go to letstwirl.com.
Okay. Fabulous.
Android and iPhone. So we got both of you guys covered.
Awesome. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate it. And the listeners, if you guys aren't following him, get your asses over there and hit follow. You will not want to miss out. Can I ask you a question? Have you ever asked yourself, why can't I stick with it? Do you often get stuck in cycles of trying to make changes for a healthier life, but then end up right back where you started? I want to introduce you to my 8-week coaching program, Retrain Your Brain, designed to help you break emotional patterns, stop self-sabotage, and develop conscious behaviors for a healthy lifestyle. Enrollment for the next program is officially open. We start October 28th. And if you head to heatherderanja.com or find the link in the show notes, you can use the code HEAL25 until October 3rd to get 25% discount on the program. This program is the roadmap to expanding your health, happiness, and consciousness. If you're tired of starting over, or you have been on a healing journey for a while but you feel stuck, then come join me in the program. If you're ready to build better beliefs, overcome chronic stress, anxiety, and depression, release
Release the attachment to your pain and heal your subconscious mind to stop self-sabotage so you can truly thrive, then this is the program for you. Click the link in the show notes or go to heatherduranja.com to register, and make sure you use the code HEAL25 to get 25% off until October 3rd. Thanks for joining us on the Think Yourself Healthy podcast. Make sure you leave a review and let me know what you think. I love reading your feedback. Come hang out with me on Instagram at Heather Duranja, and don't forget to take a screenshot that you're listening to the podcast and tag me. I love to share it. See you on the next episode.